See, Keith Thurman knocks out Brock Jarvis in 3 rounds, and I double checked. I had it right, but it's his first knockout buzzer beater just before we get to the official 10-year mark of when he knocked out Luis Collazo in July of 2015. So almost his first knockout in 10 years, but a very fun fight to watch through 3 rounds. He blitzes Brock Jarvis out of there, shows us, even though his biggest rivals, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Manny Pacquiao, are either literally retired or, in Danny's case, semi-retired. He showed he still has something left in the tank, which I guess makes some sense. All these layoffs and all these injuries have maybe preserved him in a way. But yeah, what'd you think of him blowing through Brock Jarvis in 3 rounds?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. I think Keith Thurman's been very fun for boxing, so it was good to see him get back in the knockout column and bring back KOs for life for a night. But we didn't really learn too much. I mean, all respect to Brock. He got in the ring. He's a brave person, for getting in the ring. But Brock Jarvis is the same guy that got flattened by Liam Paro 2 weight classes below this at 140. So, we didn't really learn much about Keith Thurman. We know he can move. We know he can box. We know he has an high IQ, but I didn't really get any answers into what he is now 36. So there's still, luckily for him, there's still fights PBC can make in house, like with Spence and Charlo and those kind of guys that are not active either. So that's the positive in all of it. But it was fun. It was fun for what it was.
Fun for what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what it did show us, because you said we didn't really find out anything, I think we found out he still has something left. Now,
Yeah.
we don't know what that something really is. He's going to have to go up against a tougher opponent than a Brock Jarvis for us to know what that something is. But he still got something left. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the question now isn't, does he beat Virgil Ortiz and Fundora BT, but how many rounds does he do it in after beat,
Mm.
right? Am I right about that?
I
Is
don't
that an
know.
over? Am I jumping too far ahead after a third round knockout of Brock Jarvis?
Yeah,
Go ahead, break.
just quite a bit, quite a bit.
Okay, we'll break it down why that is.
Well, because okay, the last real because I don't really consider the Brock Jarvis fight a real fight. It was a warm up fight, against a domestic level Australian fighter, right? That never cut it at the world level. The last fight he had that we could really gauge anything off of is Mario Barrios, right?
Barrios. Yeah.
And Barrios, he did hurt damage to the body. He did show some of the chinks in the armor. That was 3 years ago. So I don't think he would. I don't think he beats those guys right now at this stage. But I want to see him. I think before he even thinks about that level, like I said, there's in-house fights to make with PBC against other guys who are inactive. Spence, I think the Spence fight is like ideal. They have history. It's still a big fight. People want
Dan
to see it.
Raphael, I remember when I used to go in Dan Raphael's chats when he was holding it down at ESPN,
Mm-hmm.
he would call it like old guy fights. Like
Yeah,
make
yeah,
make good old guy fights. Like, okay, this fight should have happened when they were younger. It never did. But now they're both at about the same place in their career anyway, so why not? And that you're just reminding me of that sentiment when you say Spence and Thurman.
yeah. It's a good like it's a great old guy fight, and it's gonna give us a lot of great trash talking. Earl Spence, he's been extremely uninspired about boxing since the Carver fight. He hasn't been in the ring since the Carver fight. That's the only fight I think that could mentally get him up at this point to give whatever he has left.
Remember, he said never. Like he'll never do that fight.
Yeah, I know he
Big,
said. I know he
yeah.
said never, but money talks. Money does talk, and I want to see if he would stand on that business if the paperwork gets passed to him.
Well, but what is going to happen next for Keith is apparently a July fight with Tim Tszyu, and I
Yeah,
think that is a perfect crossroads fight because you got Keith Thurman, who's last legit win, Barrios, aged well. Barrios is now WBC champion. He's not an elite fighter in anybody's eyes, but he is a world champion now, and so that win aged well. And Tszyu a year ago was picked to stop Keith Thurman in last
correct.
March, a year from today's time, and everybody had Tszyu stopping Thurman, myself included. Now that's more of a competitive fight in the public's eyes, and it's a really interesting crossroads fight. Loser has to go home. The winner, legit, gets to fight one of the young in their prime super welterweights and see what they can do. So I
Mm-hmm.
like the Tim Tszyu fight now. And if Keith could get past Tim Tszyu, which isn't out of the question now after what we saw happen to Tszyu in last year, and Keith still got a little something left. Then, Keith against Spence after that, sure. Keith against Charlo after that, sure. Or Keith against one of the young guns who I'm sure basically everybody would favor the young guns against him, whether it's Sebastian or Virgil or even guys coming off a couple losses like Madrimov or
Mm-hmm.
Bochuk. Those guys are strong in their prime fighters that have been at this weight a lot longer than Keith. But still, if he could get, I like the Zoo fight now. The
You
Zoo
even got
fight is a legit crossroads fight.
you even got like I know it's not as big of a fight, but
Xander,
even no, not well, yeah, Xander too. I
but
was
that's not
thinking
happening. That's not
I,
happening.
I was thinking more like in the house. I was thinking more like Jesus Ramos, something like that.
Yeah,
PBC might go look to do that fight, but Zoo still got a fight coming up. We can't. I know she should beat Joey Spencer, but
that's true.
he was supposed to be Fundura. He was supposed to be all these other guys he fought. So we'll see how he does with young Joey Spencer.
Yeah, shout out to Joey Spencer. I love Joey Spencer.
Yeah,
And
I know.
it slipped my mind that he did actually land the fight. It kept being rumored and rumored, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's official. Good.
Yeah, I never met Joey. He always seemed like a cool guy. I'm hoping that he goes in there and gives a great account of himself because, he had a lot of hype coming out of the amateurs and never really lived up to it, and he's lost some tough fights to Jesus Ramos. So I don't even really want to talk about Thurman Zoo and completely until Zoo actually gets through Joey Spencer because
Right.
Zoo. I mean, we wrote Sean before me and you started doing this regularly when we were doing our little pilots. Um, we did the Bakram. We were breaking down Tim versus Bakram. We thought Tim was going to beat Bakram,
We did.
and Bakram ran right through Tim. I mean, they,
I
they were
made
very.
I made Bakram the background on my phone for a week to never overlook a guy like that again. His face replaced my family as the background on my phone. That's how serious I take this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we're learning as time goes on to not get married to our predictions,
Yeah.
married to the outcomes.
Yes. Yeah. Even though you do want to get it right, you want to know what
You
you're talking
do,
about,
of
but
course. You want to get it right so people don't fry you in the comments. But
but looking ahead to Zoo and Thurman,
yeah.
Keith did get touched by the left hook 2 or 3 times hard in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
That is still probably Tim Zoo's best punch, along with his uppercut, his left hook to the head and to the body.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and then just to break down the knockout itself, Keith did, Brock Jarvis doesn't move his head. His head's always in the center line. And so Keith wisely threw a couple combinations, threw a couple
And
shots
slipped
to pick
inside
this up. And then he threw a beautiful, he's always
left
thrown
hook
this shot beautifully, a half hook, half uppercut. What
like a
do you like
hybrid.
calling that? The
Uh,
45-degree punch?
yeah,
Or
like a 45 or a hybrid
yeah.
where you kind of slip
It's
inside
not
and
this and it's not
yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
somewhere in
It's
between.
just somewhere right here. It's not
He's
from the
always thrown
traditional.
that punch beautifully. And
That's
Floyd
that
hurt Cotto with that punch in the 12th round. Yeah, Oscar
for
used to throw it.
for Keith. That's that Roy Jones Jr. influence. He started. I think he said he started his amateur boxing career around like the late '90s. So he grew up in St. Pete. St. Pete's not that far from Pensacola. So growing up, '90s kid watching Roy Jones, I'm sure that's where he picked that up from.
Yeah, well, that the setup he buckled him in the first round with was a Roy Jones like setup. Boom, straight right hand, bang into that left
Yep.
uppercut. Yeah, Roy would do shit like that all the time. He would kind of the Ali used to do that too, but in a much different way. Just bait out the right hand just to get leverage on the hook or the uppercut behind it. Good stuff. Good stuff
Yeah.
from Keith Thurman. Now I got to do this corny joke I thought of before we went
Go
on,
go.
and I respect Brock Jarvis, man. Brock Jarvis will fuck me up. I respect all the fighters, even guys with upside down records. More losses than wins. You got to look at fighters as you look at professional basketball players. In that, even the worst dude in the league, if he
Hmm.
got in the gym with you, will look like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. Like we'll hit turnarounds, we'll do reverses on you, like
Correct.
nothing.
Correct.
Same thing with professional boxers. Like even the ones you think suck, if they were in the ring with you, would be touching you with everything, making you miss everything. Like so,
Yeah.
I
That's
say
like
that to say, BT. I wonder if there was a discussion amongst Brock Jarvis's team that went a little something like this. BT, we got a hell of a fighter. The kid's good looking. The kid looks strong. He talks great. Ladies love him. Kids can look up to him. But we just got one problem, BT. He
He
can't
can't
fly.
fly. He can't.
He can't fly. He can't.
Oh no,
It's just jokes, man.
it's
It's just
jokes. It's
jokes.
jokes. It's
No, no, I
jokes.
probably would not do that skit if Brock Jarvis was here, but I thought the audience would enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No.
One problem, mate. He can't really fly. Good
That's
looking kid.
that
Oh,
sounds like a movie script. Like I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
well, to me, that happens a lot in boxing. A lot of times, like promoters, if a guy looks
Yeah,
decent,
that's the point. Part I'm getting at. Yes, is yeah. Sometimes guys, they got it all.
but the fighting part.
Yeah, that's the one that holds them back sometimes. And by the way, to another point I want to make. Do you think the fight should have been stopped after the first knockdown? I'm tempted to say yes. And what they'll do sometimes with an A-side fighter, they will exhaust every out of the hopes that they can recover and make the outcome be what the promoter wants. They
Yeah,
will send a guy out there after certain knockdowns when they're really done and they've had enough. And I kind of thought that was the case here. And all you're doing is getting the guy hurt. He's not going to pull out some miracle that
yeah.
the promotion wants. You might just get him hurt.
Yeah, I think they
I
probably
mean, it's
should have.
boxing, you know.
They should have stopped it, but I think the play here from main event boxing or no limit boxing, the fine folks there is that they want Thurman versus Tszyu. So if Brock Jarvis had to be the sacrificial lamb
Yeah,
to
yeah,
deliver this highlight to prop it up, that's what they're
yeah.
gonna do, and it's messed up, but it's how the boxing game works.
It's like, well, the uppercut wasn't enough highlight reel for you. What are you trying to do? Get the kid killed?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, he took the fight. I mean, Brock's one. He's had a weird career because he's fought at like 140 and all these different weight classes,
yeah. T
130.
Street brought that up. He was like at 118, 120. So I was like, God damn,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the greater question I would have from the Brock Jarvis side of things is who's looking after Brock Jarvis? You know, who's actually making the executive decisions to have him fight in all these different weight classes? Because that's not healthy. Your body's not going to hydrate properly. You're not going to be strong enough to be your best self in the ring. So I think that's a great discussion about like his team and people that make those decisions for him.
yeah. We want to see prime hydrated Brock Jarvis.
Yeah, we want to see prime hydrated Brock Jarvis as the co-main event of Thurman Zoo.